everybody, we're going to do a tomato review on this tomato right here, and this tomato is called the Delicious tomato, and this tomato is a highly sought after variety. A lot of people go out of their way to buy this variety and grow it every year. It gives you very large tomatoes. In fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of the world record tomatoes at one time was the Delicious variety. So these tomatoes can get absolutely enormous. I think the biggest I ever got these tomatoes was around 2 pounds, which is quite a heavy tomato. It's not so much the size when they get big, when they weigh a lot. It's just really how much water these things can hold. And these tomatoes can get pretty heavy. You can get these up to 2 pounds, maybe even high, and more than that. I think, like I said, the world record tomato for this, it may have been at one time. This tomato may have been the record holder at one time. I could be wrong about that. But I believe it was. So anyway, let's take a look at it. Here's a pretty good size one. You can see this is a nice one. It might be a pounder right here. Very gorgeous tomato. These shoulders pretty much, depending on when it's ripening, these shoulders may disappear and it'll be completely orange. But if it's going to be like in the fall, when it ripens like it is now, and it's starting to get cold at night and the sun's leaning back, you may end up with some shoulders on it like this, which will stay prominent in the tomato even after it's fully ripe. And this tomato is very close to being fully ripe, but I need to process it, and I need to get this thing into the sauce jars. Here's a look at the inside. Again, this is a highly sought after variety. It's not a commercial variety, but it's not an heirloom variety. At least I don't think it's an heirloom. I think it's just an open pollinated variety, but it's in high demand. A lot of people love to grow this variety. So there it is. And let's put these on the scale and give you an idea of the range. Now, I did pretty good this year with this. Now, in general, if you're looking to get very large tomatoes, you got to wait until the flower puts the tomato, if it pollinates, and then it puts out the tomato. And the tomato starts to form its shape really quickly, starts getting large really quickly. When it starts doing that, you're going to want to pick off all the other tomatoes and flowers off that plant and just let that one tomato plant concentrate on really growing that one tomato, and it will, and that tomato will get absolutely enormous. But if you're letting them all grow on the plant, well, the plant's going to distribute that energy, and so your tomatoes start to get a little smaller. But if you want to get them really big, you have to start isolating those flowers. So let's see what the weight is on this. I'm guessing about a pound. No, not even a pound. This is only 8.6 ounces. That was a little bit disappointing. I thought it'd be at least a pound. No, 8.6 ounces. And the smaller one's about 3.4 ounces, which was predictable anyway. All right, so why don't we go over there and do a bricks. Get that bricks test out there, and then we can do a taste test for you. Now, I probably did a video last year on this, but we're revisiting it this year because I'm not sure if I gave it a good rating or not. Okay, it's about 5.5 on the bricks, which is a fairly good number. It's not the highest number for tomatoes this size to be above average a little bit, according to the bricks number. That's pretty good, actually. Okay, so let's give that a go. Okay, so let's go over to the sweetness. I'm going to rate the sweetness above average a little bit. We're going to say that the sweetness is somewhere around 26 to 27, possibly even to 28. It's somewhere in that range. It's definitely above average. Average would be 25, and 50 would be the high. So you're definitely going into that range. It was a nice sweetness. Again, this kind of sweetness was not a sugary sweet. It was more of a milding type of sweetness, meaning it was just like a toning effect where it toned down the tanginess a little bit, but it wasn't a sugary sweetness. I just want to make sure I'm clear on that. That sweetness in there is what balances out that tanginess. Sometimes you can't taste the sweetness, but without it, that tanginess would be almost mouth puckering. All right, it almost be like a sour or tangy effect. Going over to the tangy was a little higher than the sweetness. We're going to say that the tanginess was probably somewhere around 30 on the tanginess, but it was a nice mild 30. It was very nice. It worked very well with the sweetness. The balance between those two was very, very nice. Between those two, you got that tomato flavor, and that tomato flavor, what we're talking about here is the concentration of the flavor within that balance of sweet and tangy. And so that tomato flavor, we're talking about the concentration of it. So if I was to give that number of a concentration, I'm probably going to go with about a 6.5 on a concentration, because it came in the beginning of it as you ate the tomato, and then after you eat the tomato, what lingers around in the back of your tongue, that part was really nice. So it had a front end taste with it, prominence, and it also has the back of the tongue type of taste. And it really had a good amount of tomato flavor. So I'm going to say about 6 to 6.5 on that tomato flavor. Moving over to moisture, I'm going to go about a 7 on the moisture, because the moisture was really nice and moist. It was not dry, chalky, or anything like that. There was enough liquid in there to really drive that flavor, sweetness, and tangy right to the back of your tongue, and that's where it all takes place. And that's what's going to draw you back in for another bite. You don't realize that when you're eating tomato sauce or a salad. You don't realize you're doing that. But what's driving you back is that flavor, that little flavor sensation that's building up around the back of your tongue. You got taste buds. Sorry about that. My battery died on me, and right in the middle of doing the video. I need new batteries. So, okay, so the moisture was good, and we're going to move on over to the tardy and sour. There was no tardiness or sourness, so we're going to go with a 0 on that. There were no undertones. We're going to go with a 0 on that one. As far as texture goes, the texture, I'm going to go with about a 7.5 on that. The texture on these tomatoes are absolutely perfect. They're a really, really nice, uniform, almost commercial grade type texture. There's no hard little veins in it or hard knotty areas. The whole thing just melts in your mouth. It really delivers the flavor. The texture was not dry, chalky, or grainy, or mushy or mashy. It turned to like a cream in your mouth. With nothing like that at all. The texture was absolutely perfect. The flesh part really holds a lot of moisture, and as soon as you chew it up, it really releases that moisture. So the texture-wise, we're going to go with about a 7.5 on that texture. It was really good texture. Moving over to production. Production is okay. I'm going to put it a little bit below average, mainly because this plant really likes to focus on growing 1 or 2 very large tomatoes, and then it'll put out a bunch of little small ones, and that's really about it. But this plant really likes to focus on putting out and concentrating its energy into 1 or 2 very large tomatoes, or larger tomatoes on the plant. That's the type of vine that it is. So production, I'm going to go slightly below average. We're going to go at about a 4.5 for production. But the flip side to that is, if you get a 3 or 4 pound tomato on there, you don't need a lot of production. You can make a whole pot of sauce with a 3 pound tomato, basically. So it really, the balance is do you like smaller tomatoes in quantity, or do you like just larger one size tomatoes like this for, one slice on a hamburger, and you're literally like good. I mean, I've had these get big enough where the slice that I put on the hamburger was actually bigger than the hamburger itself. So it was a lot larger than that, and it's a kind of a funny thing, but some people like that, some people don't. Me personally, it's not that critical. I'm not critical with that. But production-wise, we're going to keep that at about a 4.5 on this one. Again, it's the larger tomatoes that this variety likes to focus on. Going over to the skins, I'm going to give it an average on the skins. We're going to go about 2.5 on skins, meaning how tough is the skins. The skins generally, when I rate them really low, that means the skins were sticking to the roof of my mouth. I was spitting them out. I couldn't chew it. It was literally like chewing a piece of plastic. So if they're like that, then they really get a lower rating. If the skins break up really good with the flesh and everything else, and exceptionally good, and you don't even know it has skins on it, then the rating will be a lot higher. This was about average. I chewed the skin up relatively pretty easy, and broke up with the skin very nicely. So it wasn't a problem at all. So we're going about average on that. Seed-wise, how is it for seeds? Basically, I'm rating it on seeds because some people grow tomatoes for seeds, for example, because they want to resell the seeds, or they want to save seeds to give away, or whatever your reason is, you want to grow it for seeds. That's mainly the reason why I included that. I also included it because some people are they want to make a lot of sauces with it, but they don't want to deal with a tomato that has too many seeds. They want something that's more flesh than seed. This is going to be about middle of the road, maybe above. You're going to be above the average. You're going to be about a 6 on the seeds because it does make a lot of seeds, and it doesn't have as much flesh in the center, which I'll cut this open for you right now. So as you can see right here, you can see all the seed chambers around here. The center part's even got some seed chambers. Normally with tomatoes, for me to rate them lower on the seed range, meaning it doesn't make as many seeds, this whole center's basically got to be solid meat rather than having all these seed chambers in it. So you can see that it makes quite a few seeds in there. So just keep that in mind. It is going to be a little higher in the seed range. Depending on your application, that may be a good or it may be a bad thing. For me, it's fine because I make sauce with seeds or without seeds, it doesn't matter. So just keep that in mind. So how would I rate this tomato as an overall, from 1 being the highest and 10 being the lowest? I would definitely rate this tomato up there at about a 2. All right, so that's it. That was your tomato review for the delicious tomato. I will leave whatever information I got on the delicious tomato in the description below, and I will also leave that information on my website where you can read about it there. Any updates will all be done on the website and usually not the video, so always check the website for the latest information and updates. And I will also leave a link in the description below where it'll take you over to the website and you can buy the seed for this tomato if you decide that you want to grow it. All right, so that was it. That was your tomato review for the delicious tomato. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.